Hey guys, this is book club episode, and you know what that means. This is a book that we picked out months ago. We've announced it on our show a bunch, and so now is the discussion episode. If you've read it, great. If not, just be advised there's going to be spoilers ahead. Hello and welcome back. This is Don't Watch at Night, a spooky little podcast dedicated to Latin American horror and Spanish language horror. I'm your host, Valerie.
And I'm Veronica.
And you're here at book club episode. Today we're going to be talking about The Haunting of Alejandra by Castro. We're in the blistering death heat of Texas.
Extremely hot.
It's unbearable. It's ridiculous. But yes, before we launch into the book, we're going to do what we always do every book club discussion, which is I'm going to talk to you about cocktails because every book club, we try to do a cocktail pairing to go with. Today, Veronica, and you know what? I don't have links. I'm not going to be able to, I should try to get you links just so you have stuff to visually look at. But it may not happen. It may not happen. You might just have to listen to me go on for a little bit. Okay, I'm going to give you this recipe. We are having ourselves a La Llorona cocktail. I went and found a La Llorona cocktail. I'm going to give you the recipe as it is, and then I'm going to tell you what listeners, what I did differently because I did make some modifications, and it kind of produced a really small, I'll show it, kind of a really small drink, but that's fine. It? Yeah, I know. Well,
one drink?
Well, yeah. You know, your mom said the same thing to me once when I sent her a cocktail recipe and she's like, it just makes one drink. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's a cocktail recipe. If you want a batch recipe, that's different. But yeah, this is just one drink. Let's see. This is basically something called a pisco sour. And I have had a pisco sour before, but just once. So this is only my second time having something like this. A pisco sour, Veronica, and for those listening who may not know, it calls for a pisco brandy. And there are Peruvian varieties and Chilean varieties. I'm working today with a Chilean variety because that's what the store had. So I'm holding it up, although nobody's going to see this. This is not a video episode, but it's called, this is a Chilean variety called Pisco Control Valle de Encanto Triple Destilado. Again, nobody's seeing. I don't know why I keep holding it up. But anyway, this is what it looks like. I will post a photo. If you follow us on YouTube or follow us on Patreon, I'll post a photo. I'll also probably share one on Instagram. Why not? That's what I'm working with. And I will give you a little bit of origins real quick because this La Llorona cocktail really, really resembles a pisco sour very closely. The origins of a pisco sour are up for a lot of debate because Chile and Peru will duke it out over who can lay claim to this drink. But it is documented in a lot of places that wherever he was when he created this, it's thought to have been created by an American bartender named Victor Von Morris, and he served it at his bar Lima when he opened its doors back in 1916. So what we're doing today is a little different from the traditional sour. A traditional sour, actually what I'm doing today, a lot closer to a traditional sour. A traditional sour calls for 2 ounces of pisco, 1 ounce of fresh lime juice, half an ounce of simple syrup, and 1 egg white, Ron. And it's an acquired taste. I can do it, but not everybody can. You would shake that up and you would dry shake that with your cocktail ingredients, and then you would take the top off, throw in some ice, and then do a second shake.
I never understand why people say it's what's the point of something being an acquired taste? Like, if I don't like it, why would I keep drinking it to acquire eventually a taste for it? Like, if I don't like it, we're done. We're done.
Okay. I like a drink with egg white in it, but I've never been able to successfully make a drink that calls for it. I will have a drink that calls for it, but I don't know how to do one on my own. The one time I tried, it was a disaster. So, okay, 1 egg white, and then you would garnish with Angostura bitters. So this La Llorona recipe came from an Epicurious.com article, but it's actually a drink recipe from a cookbook titled Muy Bueno, 3 Generations of Authentic Mexican Flavor, and it's by Yvette Marquez Sharpnack, Veronica Gonzalez Smith, and Evangelina Sosa. The Epicurious article presents it as kind of like a spooky Halloween seasonal drink, which is fine because we are less than 100 days away now from Halloween, Ron.
Mm.
So it'll be here before you know it. And so one of the reasons that they make it Halloween seasonal is if you go to the article, and again, we're going to link this all for you guys in show notes, they put dry ice in the drink to create that cool fog effect. So just a note about that for anybody, if you decide to garnish with dry ice for dramatic effect, you do always want to wait for your dry ice to be completely dissolved before you drink your beverage. Safety first, don't be dumb. The Llorona recipe that they have, I didn't do this. It would call for 3 ounces of pisco brandy, 1 ounce of fresh lime juice, 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice, 1.5 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and then a dash of Angostura bitters, so no egg white. What I'm doing for myself today is I mashed up these 2 recipes. I'm not doing a full 3 ounces of pisco brandy. I don't usually do 3 ounces of any spirit in a drink, not since like my 20s, so I can't really roll like that anymore. So I did just 2 ounces, and I did not do 1.5 tablespoons of granulated sugar. I thought you were raising your hand to say something. So I'm doing I'm doing a half ounce of simple syrup. And this is actually a lavender infused simple syrup that I made. I did half of a fresh lime squeezed, half of a fresh lemon squeezed, because I didn't have time to measure it out. But if I had time, probably a little bit more than that. And then, of course, no egg white. You throw all that in a shaker, shake it up. The article recommends straining into a Nick and Nora glass or a martini glass, or you can even do this over ice in a rocks glass. And that's it. If you want to do a non-alcoholic pisco sour, a lot of what I looked at online recommended incorporating white grape juice and coconut water. That might be an really delicious, summery, refreshing beverage. You could also do this with Little Saint's Saint Juniper, which is a non-alcoholic gin. So I'm going to link all of that stuff for you guys as well. And they call that a pisco-less sour. This is my drink. I have not tasted what I've made, so it could taste like crap. I don't know. Oh no, that's very good. That's really good. I was worried it wasn't going to be great because I didn't measure my lemon juice or my lime juice, but it actually tastes really nice. It's just very small. It didn't yield very much drink. But I didn't want to do 3 ounces of the brandy because that's the other thing is I don't have a ton of experience with brandy in general. So I did not think that book club episode was the time to discover that. Cheers, everybody. All right. Well, into it we go. Listeners, this go around, we read The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro, which I think came out in January of 2024. Just a little bit about this author, because she's written a number of different things, but this was the first book of hers that I had been able to read. V. Castro has written a number of books, and she's a 2-time Bram Stoker Award-nominated Mexican-American writer from San Antonio, Ron. She doesn't live there anymore. She lives, I think, over in the UK somewhere. But she is a writer of science fiction and horror, and some of the other titles that she's written that sounded really interesting to me were Mestiza Blood and The Queen of the Cicadas. And then here's a little bit, these are some excerpts from the blurb that I stitched together because I didn't want to read the entire thing. The blurb is, Alejandra no longer knows who she is. To her husband, she's a wife, and to her children, a mother. To her own adoptive mother, she's a daughter, but they cannot see who Alejandra has become, a woman struggling with a darkness that threatens to consume her. Nor can they see what Alejandra sees. In times of despair, a ghostly vision appears to her, the apparition of a crying woman in a ragged white gown. She is La Llorona, the vengeful and murderous mother of Mexican legend, and she will not leave until Alejandra follows her mother, her grandmother, and all the women who came before her into the darkness. Alejandra has inherited more than just pain. She has inherited the strength and the courage of her foremothers, and she will have to summon everything they have given her to banish La Llorona forever. I finished this book just last night. And did you do the audiobook?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Ron, how was listening to the audiobook? How long was the audiobook?
I think it was let me pull it up. Stand by, please. I want to say it was maybe close to 10 hours. Oh, sorry. No, it was it was short. It was only 4 hours. A little over 4 hours. Yeah.
Well, I could have done audio.
Yes, I did it at 2 times speed. And actually, by the end, it was 2.5 times speed. So I started it on the 22nd, finished it on the 23rd.
How was it? How was the audiobook for you?
The narrator did a good job. So no, I didn't have any issues with that. How do I
I
undownload
feel
it?
like I feel like I wish I had gone audiobook on this just because I imagine it would have been a really fun, fun to hear it, fun to like listen to it. I thought her husband was an aggravating piece of shit.
I mean, he was, but by the same token, like she should have known that, I feel like. And she admits it. She waved off the red flags and
Yeah. Yeah, she was
so
very self-aware. Alejandra is very
mhm.
self-aware of like her predicament and what choices that she
Yeah, like she went like she's I think she says it herself at one point. I don't know if she said it out loud to somebody or she just well, I think it was to the therapist lady. She traded safety for so
Yeah. I did go in anticipating a little bit more physical horror, largely because of that. I don't, it's not first chapter, but the chapter with Atzi from like the 1500s, where we get that Sebastian man that the entity attacks. So I thought this was going to be more physical horror. And so I was really thinking, man, this was like at the beginning of the book when I really hated Matthew. I was just like, man, I can't wait for her to do to Matthew what she did to Sebastian. Like, did you go in thinking it would be more physical horror, more Llorona forward?
I didn't really have any expectations. I mean, obviously I knew it was horror or at least horror adjacent because that's what we do here, but I didn't even read the back blurb, so I didn't
Well, I read it on the
I
show
didn't know
multiple
what it was.
times that I've been. You're like, I don't listen to. Like, what did
Get the
you?
plots of everything confused. So
Yeah, that's true. That's
I mean,
true.
I know it dealt with La Llorona, but
Looking at some of the interviews that the author has given on this book, that this was probably a very personal story for her. Seems like elements that mirrored things that she has said she also felt. There were things I could connect to in some of these women. Did you feel that way at all? Let's see, like the earlier portions of the book where she talks about hesitating to get help and kind of feeling like I do. From a cultural standpoint, that rung kind of true for me because I guess, so often, and I don't think it's just a cultural thing. I think women in general maybe, taught to sort of carry our burdens silently and that there's some kind of nobleness to that.
I mean, I think it depends on the woman. I know plenty of women who are not shy at all about saying when they're unhappy, and so I don't know. I personally didn't relate much to Alejandra, but I also don't feel like we really outside, and I want to call it, I don't know how to phrase this, outside of just kind of like constantly being in her misery with her for a large part of the book, I don't really feel like she ever felt like a fully fleshed person to me for me to be like super invested in the outcome for her. I mean, obviously I didn't want her to off her, end her existence, or certainly didn't want her to harm her kids, but I felt like we never got past or much, maybe a little bit at the end, but by then the story was ending. But like for the bulk of the story, I just never feel like we ever left that sphere of just her misery. And maybe that was the point, but I don't know. But she just never felt like a full person to me, for me to like, she was somebody I was reading about, but I wasn't like in that journey with her, if that makes any sense. I didn't feel like I was feeling what she was feeling, going through what she was going through. I was reading about her. Or in my case, listening about her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I, your point that it's like, maybe that was the point of it, where you just feel like you're reading something and you're just stuck in this rut that you can't move beyond in terms of plot, and that kind of mirroring maybe what she's going through or what it must be like to be in that mental space where you just feel stuck and you can't pull yourself out. And it does make for like a heavy read.
That's actually why I upped the speed to 2.5, because I was like, I just want to get past this. I don't want to be stuck in this headspace with her for 4 hours. Let's cut it down to 2. Actually, it was longer than 2 hours, like 2.5 speed. But
what was there like a okay? So to sort of lay it out for people, the book kind of takes us through different women that are sort of like ancestors. Well, I don't want to say sort of. They are ancestors of Alejandra's. And so just to sort of lay it out, I did find a link that mapped those out because it's a lot of women. Let me see. We have Atzi, who is Mexico, 1522. Kathy, which is San Antonio, 1978. What's up?
Atzi was the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one who's like
That started this whole thing.
yeah, Francis from Texas in 1961, Flor from Mexico in the periods of 1900 and 1919, and then La Llorona herself in 1660. So my question was there a POV that you found more interesting than the others, or I kind of found Francis's story to be interesting for a number of
Is that
reasons.
the one that was having a
Sleeping
lot
around-
of affairs while her husband was also having a lot of
having a lot of affairs. What I found interesting about her, I don't want to say I liked the way her death was written. That's a weird thing to say, but I just thought it was I thought it was an well done scene, that closing scene, closing the book on Frances, and she steps into the water not knowing how to swim, and the description of what happens to her when she's in the water, and then how she's found her her shoes were found, she buried all of those details I thought were I just liked those additions in that particular story. But was there a POV that you enjoyed more than the others?
And I thought Flor was interesting. The path that she took.
Florida is where we do get the addition of real people. So Emiliano
Zapata. Yeah.
And hello, friends. It's Editor Val just coming in to tell you right about here is where my mic dropped out. And so we had to end our session, restart. And so what you're going to be hearing next is going to be us coming back to our little conversation. All right, on with the show. What were we talking about? We were talking about Flor. Yeah, what was you were saying? You wondered if what now?
If Zapata had like an actual female companion lover,
like Flor,
named Flor. But
hard
to say because I'm just reading. I'm just looking it up now. He fathered, just little side fact, not important for the book, but Zapata fathered a total of 16 known children with 9 different women. So.
Yeah, Emilio Robles Avila was a real Mexican revolutionary and assigned female at birth, but lived openly as a man from the time of the revolution up until his death in 95. It was just really, really cool to have him featured in the story. I enjoyed Flora as well. I thought, because Flora doesn't come till way late in the book, and I was like, really, another one? But I liked it. And I thought it was helpful to the story. Because I had read the blurb, I did sort of anticipate that it would be more La Llorona forward, and that would be a character featured more in the story. But I can appreciate that this is a story where it's not so much La Llorona as it is these dark fears and despair that Alejandra is going through that are kind of giving power to this demon that feels older than all of that. And I will say, even though, again, I know that's not the point of the story. The point of the story was to focus on these women and the overcoming these obstacles to find strength and persevere. I was very interested in this demon, and I kind of wanted to know more about the demon.
Where it came from.
What the origin story is there.
Had questions there as well.
I can see the point about the constant despair and the constantly having to work through those feelings again and again and again. I do think it's a useful way to perceive horror through the lens of what I call horror of the mind. What do you do when what you are haunted by is your own thoughts, your own destructive ideas and feelings about yourself, conceptualizing those thoughts as like an entity, in this case, like a demon. That was a cool way to examine those ideas, those feelings. So I found like I said, I did find myself very interested in the demon, but I appreciated that the demon wasn't the focus. The focus is like these women overcoming their own demons. I mean, ultimately, would you recommend the book to people?
I mean, if you're someone that likes, let's just be clear. And I may have hinted at this before. This is not like, I will watch scary movies. I don't mind watching scary movies, but as far as like books, this is not a genre that I ever would pick out on my own to read. When I walk into a bookstore, I go to science fiction, fantasy, and I go to mystery. I read 100% for escapism. I don't choose to read about dealing with generational trauma or dealing with issues of long range repercussions of colonization or any of the real world heavy topics that we all deal with. I read to escape that. Kudos
and kudos. Those are important topics to write about. Totally.
Yes. That's just not what I choose to read. Even for mysteries, I tend to gravitate towards like historical mysteries. I like, if it's a mystery, I don't even read a lot of mysteries to set in current modern world, because I'm not interested. I live in this modern world. I want to read to get away
You
from
live
it.
in this hellhole.
Yes. This ever sinking.
Every single damn day in this.
Yes. But
yes.
if you read horror or horror adjacent and that's your jam, then I think she's a great writer. I think she did a great job of evoking that, like I said, that feeling of being just trapped in this bubble of misery with Alejandra that I personally wanted to get out of.
Right. Yeah.
But some people like that. And if that's your jam, if you want to do the audiobook, the narrator did a bang up job with that too. I did think the ending was kind of like, I never had a sense of time. Like how much time passed? Like how long was she in therapy for? Because it just seemed like the end just kind of like real quick. She just and therapy can take years, people.
Years and breakthroughs and regressions and breakthrough. Like it's not a linear thing, which I don't think she necessarily meant to make it that way. But
I mean, if it's a book, it can't be like 20.
Yeah, we can't
20,000 pages. But
also again, like nobody wants to read that. Like nobody wants to read 20 years of therapy. Like that's a lot.
But just as a total piece of writing, I think if she wrote in another genre, I would read it. Like if she wrote a mystery, I would read it.
I'm kind of interested in her science fiction, to be honest, because
does she write science fiction?
She does. I said that at the top of the episode. Listen when I speak.
You and Robert should start up. My husband should start up a She Doesn't Listen to Me.
She Doesn't Listen to Me podcast. Welcome to She Doesn't Listen to Me. The ending, it felt quick. I had to reread. This is one of those situations where it's like I do, as much as I enjoy audiobooks, I do like having a physical book that I can go back and reread stuff so that I don't miss it, because I had to process that bathtub scene when she confronts Llorona, and I'm like, what is happening and how is this working? It seems like she takes the demon into her in order to dispel it or end it, but then
which
later
Lord had tried to do. But she, I don't remember why she failed. I think she was maybe just too weak, but she had tried to do that.
Which is interesting.
It's interesting to know that there were some women that, and of course, out of all her ancestors, we only really knew of those two, Flor and her own, and Alejandra's own birth mother, Kathy, that did not succumb to that despair, that
it chose a different path.
They were able to break free from that.
But because like I may fumble what I'm about to say. Like the beginning of the book where Alejandra is laying out her pain, the burdens of motherhood, the burdens of like what it is when you don't necessarily have a supportive partner or you're not in a supportive home situation, coupled with your own feelings of anxiety and despair and insecurity and all of those things. I want to be clear that like that's not my life, but I can certainly understand, as somebody who's also done, full-time caretaker and stay-at-home momhood, I can understand the heaviness of that some days, especially like when my children were much younger and I was less experienced with how to do it. Now I'm like 3 children in. I feel like I have a good wrangle on my own journey in motherhood, my own journey with my children. But in those early years, oh my God, Ron, I appreciate that this book normalizes asking for being brave, asking for help, and how brave Alejandra is to go and get that help. And then I appreciate that it normalizes just talking about that motherhood struggle, because it's valid and it exists. Did I necessarily feel like 100% like Alejandra feels in this book? No, I never went through anything that hard or heavy. And I have like a really amazing partner. So, it's not like it's not like I had a Matthew on my hands. Otherwise, that would have been unbearable. I'm glad I got to read the story. I saw that it does apparently, as of January of this year, there was a notice that came out that like it's going to get a pilot off of Hulu. So they're developing this. Producers on this are Eva Longoria. Who else? Somebody else. Oh, Gigi Salguero, who is the director we've watched her movies before. Bingo Hill.
If you say so. I don't remember.
Bingo Hill. And then she did one of the segments in Satanic Hispanics.
I'm looking at her books. She must really like delving into that, linking her horror stories to Mexican or Latin folklore, because she's got one that deals with La Malinche.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Well, and she has said that, like, I read that in an interview too, that she really wants to tell stories that do bring those legends more into the mainstream. Like she went like Lala Chusa. She's very interested in Lala Chusa and Llorona, and so I think that's cool too. Like
why now that you say that, why do so many of these Mexican folklores all like have female?
I don't know.
As like the boogeyman.
Why are we always the bad guy?
Yes.
Examine that.
Hello. Now that you were like naming them one right after the other, I was like, well, wait a minute. Why are they all women? Or
I'm
female,
telling you.
feminine.
I'm telling you.
Bastard patriarchy.
All stems from that Adam and Eve crap. I would recommend to people, if you haven't read it and you are interested in a story that is very female, that is 100% female driven, and then you should totally give it a read. It's not what I was expecting in terms of, I thought it was going to be more La Llorona, the myth, the legend. But I appreciate a reinvention. I always appreciate a reinvention on these things, like Jairo Bustamante's La Llorona, which is one of my favorite movies we've ever covered on this podcast. I appreciate.
Which one was that one? The La Llorona.
Okay, I appreciate always taking these legends and these old folklore stories and reinventing them. So I love it. I love the concept of that.
What did you think about that? Where, because the traditional, or the story that I heard, I know there's like different iterations, maybe depending on what region you lived in and heard about it from. But the version I always heard was that La Llorona drowned her children because the man that she wanted a relationship with didn't want children. And this one tweaked that. What was her name? Atzi?
Well, Atzi is the... See, this is... Okay. The timeline I'm unclear on, because Atzi... Well, actually, no. Never mind. I'm clear on it, because Atzi happens in 1516. Before, because La Llorona is in the 1600s.
Well, then who was the one that started this whole curse?
Atzi. But what Atzi encounters is the demon, which at that point had no form. Like the form that presents itself to Sebastian is the indigenous girl, is Atzi. I don't remember if it's that Atzi dies or she takes the demon takes Atzi, but then that demon assumes her form, because when Sebastian sees and he says, he looks and sees the indigenous girl through the window, the demon is older than all of these things. So it makes sense that the demon is in existence back in 1516 and encounters Atzi and whatever, but that's not where La Llorona happens. La Llorona happens in 1616. So 100 years later. And at that point, and you do see at the end of that chapter, there is the demon who the creature stalked in the shadows. It heard the story of this woman who attempted to take the lives of her children and herself. What a wonderful disguise to frighten them. How they conjured nightmares out of thin air. So potent were these images and tales, they thrived on the fear. And so the demon decides, I'm going to assume that form. I'm going to take on that legend. And that's going to be my thing that I ride with. That makes sense. That makes sense. I forget where I was going with that. Where was I going with that?
But wasn't Atzi the one who was trying to drown her own daughters because...
No, that was La Llorona.
Sebastian. Well, whoever was the one that tried to drown... Like, she was the first ancestor, whatever, that we met, I think, if I remember correctly, that this Sebastian dude, Spaniard, whatever, had probably raped her or forced her into sex against her will. She was pregnant with his child. She didn't want this life for her own daughters that she already had, so she took them to the river to kill them, to basically, that was her way of saving them from suffering any kind of fate like her life. She only succeeded in killing herself. Her two daughters didn't die.
Well, so that was Rosa. So that's the woman who would be dubbed La Llorona. Atzi, I'm looking at it right now, because she did get impregnated with Sebastian's child. I just don't remember what happened. Okay, Atzi decided to take her own life using the small brown seeds of plant. She could rid herself of the conquistador seed. So I think like maybe Atzi took her own life and like ended she hadn't had the baby. She hadn't had the child yet.
But she basically sold out all her descendants because that's the
Yes.
deal she made with the demon, right? Like, you
Yeah.
go kill Sebastian and his innocent children, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
She basically made a deal with the devil.
She made a deal with the devil. I think she took her own life, and because she didn't want to carry this, she didn't want to carry this child. So I don't think she ever had the child. The one who almost killed her daughters was Rosa,
Okay.
who's in 16. And yeah, to answer your question, now that we're finally back to it, to answer your question, I did like that. I did like that that La Llorona is written in such a way. Again, this is taking the lore and kind of redefining it. So she doesn't end the lives of her children. Those girls do survive. I want to say in the lore that I always understood it wasn't girls, it was boys. She had sons, but who knows? Anyway, I like that it's daughters. I like that the daughters survive, and that they go. And I love that it lets us know in the writing they went on to live beautiful lives, and they passed away from old age. So they got to live beautiful lives that she would have always wanted them to live. She just didn't think was possible for them to live. Again, it is another example similar to Jairo Bustamante's movie. It is another example where it's like, how does the lore get developed when they find Rosa's body in the river? They assume, oh, this is Rosa. Well, we know she had 2 girls, and where are those 2 girls? And so they pin the murder of the children on her, which we know didn't actually happen.
You got your book from the library?
I did.
This is one of the local library.
Yeah, this is one of the first books that we've done for book club that I was able to get it at the local library.
And now that you're holding it up, it's actually not what makes sense because the audiobook was only 4 hours. But yeah, it's not a big book either.
It's not thick at all. So
how long did it take you to read it?
It took me a while to get into it, guys, but it's only because I go through periods where I just get I get overwhelmed with everything around me, and I just don't have the bandwidth to sit down and read a book. Sometimes I can read books just bam, 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 bam. And sometimes I'm just like, I need to veg out with a TV show and just not use my brain for a little while. So it took me a while to get into it. But then once I got into it, I had no problem. It was easy, not easy reading, but quick reading. Yeah. So we are going to do one more book this year, guys. We kind of the way our book club works out is it's kind of a quarterly thing. Veronica has a full-time job. I have a job. We're very busy.
Full-time and a side gig.
Full-time and side gigs.
Group fitness instructor gig.
So we're going to do one more book. Because it's the last book of 2026, we're going to space it out a little bit more so that we're going to try and time it more towards end of the year. So we're going to have our book club discussion in November. I think traditionally we've done an October book club. But freeing up the month of October for movies allows us to maybe do a Halloween-focused movie month. And Veronica, would you like to pick? We do a lot of Spanish language films, guys, but every now and then we jump into a theme and we try to do something that's on theme, whether it's Spanish language or not. Veronica, is there a Halloween era you would like to visit this October? We've done 80s Halloween before, and we can do that again. There's 90s Halloween.
I'll have to look. I'm not real specific on what
There's
sets
70s Halloween.
I don't know what sets Carrie. What sets one apart from the other.
But yeah, so we might, freeing up October frees us up to do something fun and on theme with Halloween, which might be cool and something to think about. Early 2000s Halloween, who knows? I don't know. Oh, that was one thing. The reason I bring up Carrie is because the trailer for the upcoming Carrie TV series got released 1 or 2 days ago, and it looks good. It's Mike Flanagan. What is it? House on Haunted Hill?
So how many of his stable of actors are going to be appearing in this one? He tends to reuse the same actors.
I get based on the trailer, nobody that I recognized. So, and I'm trying, hold on. I'm typing into it right now. I can't remember if it's going to be Hulu, Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video. So it'll be coming October 7th this year. Yeah, I don't know any of these names. These might be all new people. Oh, Matthew Lillard from Scream. Yeah, but that's it. I don't recognize these other names. So I don't know. Because it's all young people. So maybe that's why he's not working with his usuals, because his usuals are not teenagers or teenage looking. so we have one more book coming. We'll announce that on our socials in the days and weeks to come. You have a long time to get that done. That episode isn't, or that discussion isn't coming till November. And we have more movies coming for you guys when we meet again later this month. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Don't Watch at Night is a Nest production. Executive producers are Valerie and me. Editing by Valerie. Music by Omar Chakor. Special thanks to Lorenzo Villarreal and Alex Street for production support for this episode. Listen to any new episodes every other Monday, and if you like our show, give us a rate and a review to help us grow.
Guys, if you like what you've been listening to so far and you want more of Don't Watch at Night, then head on over to YouTube and subscribe. Follow our channel there as we continue to grow. We post our live shows there. We post creepy cocktail hours and watch parties, all kinds of good stuff over there. So do follow us on YouTube. Don't Watch at Night Pod. Thanks.